All right, patch 6.18 is here. The biggest portion of this being data center travel, but we did get a couple of other things as well. So let's go ahead and take a look. First of all, the weekly restriction for unsung blades from the P4 has been removed, if anybody wants to go grind those out. And then we have some adjustments made to Savage. I wondered when these would roll out because historically we see the Savage lockout get lifted going into the next Savage, which is 0.2.4. So 2 treasure coffers will now always appear. Furthermore, the weekly restriction on awards has been removed. So any of you that are trying to grind out all Savage gear on alts or anything like that, or you're late to the Savage tier and you want to grind that, go nuts. There's no more need to look through Party Finder for a 2 chest and then have multiple characters. Like at this point, this is where people who really want to grind out all that Savage gear can get to it. The weekly entrance restriction on Savage has been removed, which would make sense with that, and they can now proceed directly to Savage, which before what you were doing is you were kind of riding other people's progress. Like, you're supposed to do them all in order every week is the theory. That has been lifted. So any of you that really just don't like P3 or something like that can jump straight to 4 and grind the crap out of it if you so choose. The item required to enhance weapons to purchase with Allegan Tomestones of Astronomy can now be purchased in Rods at Han for your Algaia coins. So hopefully you've been grinding those every week if you knew that was coming. For anybody that didn't know that was coming, the Alliance raid is something that in theory you should be doing as many weeks as you can because the upgrade tokens are going to be they're going to be tied to that. So you're going to want to keep doing that. We have some PvP action changes. I don't know PvP well enough to know these, but we do have changes to Paladin. Reducing damage reduction of the effect. We have some ups and some downs here. Marauder, our warrior, has gone from 400 to 500 on Onslaught, 800 to 1,000 on Orogeny. Dark Knight also increased 4,000 to 6,000. And the base potency has been increased from Eventide from 1 to 10,000, which that just is like applying potency, period. Gunbreaker 6 to 7,000, Hypervelocity 2 to 3,000. So there's a lot of changes in here that are strengthening it, but they're not all buffs. Duration from Unsealed Sciton has been reduced from 10 to 8 seconds. See, so you're seeing some things go down. And then Machinist now getting a movement speed when overheated. Potency increased from 4 to 6,000. I had heard some people saying that they were hoping Machinist would get a bit of a boost. Dancer, some increases. Black Mage, a barrier potency is going down. And then Summoner, we've got some increases. Summoner, if you have not played Summoner in Frontlines, Summoner is outrageously powerful. So to see them going up from here, if you're playing things in Frontlines, obviously I think a lot of this is targeting the new Crystalline Conflict season, which begins with 6.18 and will end with the launch of 6.2. But Summoner and Frontlines, immensely fun. If you're just going into Frontlines for experience, you can queue in on any job at level 30 and then switch to another job. So if you just want to switch to Summoner and put the experience on whatever job you queued in as, go for it. And then Astrologian, Heavy is now only applied to the first target of Gravity 2, and Bind is only applied to the first target as well. This second season does not affect your series. Remember that your series is done with the patches, so you have until 0.2 to grind that series, the thing with the big glamour set. So if you want to do that, you can still keep going. The top 100 players from each data center get the vouchers. These are some of the rarest mounts in the game. I just put out a video on what the rarest mounts were, and I kind of ignored mounts that are really unobtainable because I like hearing rarest mount as something that I could go grind as opposed to rarest mount meaning this is something that's gone, there's nothing you can do about it. I personally love rare aspirational mounts, and so I don't know if they would ever bring these back or bring back reskins of them, but we'll see kind of what they end up doing with these now that we have like series and seasons and stuff being more regularly supported. I don't know how people feel about that. I can see an argument either way. That's another topic. Frontlines. We are now going combat rank bonus for limit gauge has been adjusted. So we've got some adjustments there. I mostly just play Frontlines for fun, so I'm not really worried about this. But it is going to kind of adjust the way it fills. And then the damage modifiers based on job have been as follows. Damage taken for tanks and melees has been changed from minus 40% to minus 60%. So a buff there. Damage taken for Fizz ranged magical DPS has been from 20 to 30. So they should survive a little bit more. And then the damage taken for Summoner, Scholar, White Mage has been from 0 to 10%. So it should help people survive. I hope that keeps it just as fun. I like the chaos of it, but I will say, like, when you get targeted, you kind of get wrecked. Now, for the data centers, there was a big shift here. There was 32 worlds across 3 data centers for Japan. There's now 32 worlds across 4, and that's really what hit them today. So it should be a smoother login, most noticeable around patch times. And then for EU, you guys got some new data centers. We've talked about this several times now, but they've got that on the lodestone if you want to see those details. We are now jumping from 6 and 6 to 8 and 8, and data center travel got implemented. I did put up a video in advance saying how this might work, because I got asked a bunch of times, and people, I think, want to know going into the patch. They showed it off back at FanFest, and it looked like you were going to have to back out to the title screen and select data center visit to kind of do this like temporary transfer type thing. It actually looks like now, they talked about maybe they mentioned one time wanted to do this from the character selection screen. It looks like it's done from that. The same way you can visit another world from this screen. If your world has a queue, you can use it to jump that. And then it has this neat little UI where you're going to basically say, your data center, I'd like to go to a different data center within my same region, North America to North America, EU to EU, JP to JP. There's only one Oceanic, so there's no need for this particular feature yet. And then you would select a world from that point. On the confirmation screen, you're then kind of locked into that, just like World Visit. It looks a lot like World Visit. And then once you're there, you're effectively going to have all the same restrictions of World Visit, and you're also going to lose access to cross-world link shells because they work a little bit different. So in JP, where the like cross-world link shells got split, they did have a process to make sure that got handled. You can join cross-world link shells while you're there, so you can be in groups that are over there. You'll only have access to them while you're there. So I think those are going to really supplement things like Discord, especially for things like Baldesian Arsenal, Deliverance Savage, where this should make it even easier to find groups. There were already successful communities doing this with just World Visit. Data Center Visit should only make it easier for people to have glamour competitions, fun RP parties, whatever it is that you're into, whether that be surrounding a content creator or just surrounding a community, like those relic grinds and stuff like that. Legendary and Unspoiled. Now, there are certain restrictions that are going to be limited. Legendary and Unspoiled gathering nodes are inaccessible. They didn't say that this was coming. This makes sense because you would be talking about people maybe jumping through them all and then jumping really rapidly. We ran into an issue with World Visit back in Shadowbringers with Ishgard Restoration, where that particular feature had to be toggled off. Remember, World Visit came in patch 4.57. Retainers can't be summoned, just like World Visit, which therefore means you can't sell things on the market board, but you will still be able to purchase them. Yoshi has been more than open about being very pro the market board moving closer and closer. This limitation is because of the way retainers work. It seems like he would be okay with maybe considering at least data center wide market boards, at least considering it. And then free companies, obviously you're not going to be able to do anything with those because you're just visiting, just like you can't in the World Visit. And then company credits not earned. It's really just meant for like think of yourself as on vacation. Link shells cannot be viewed. It says they cannot be created or joined. It looked like in our original post they were going to allow people to remain members. So cross-world link shells are going to be kind of weird. So let's talk about those, because link shells are meant for people that live on that world, locals. Cross-world link shells cannot be formed, but you can join them with a limit of your 8 cross-world link shells per data center. Travelers will not be able to be promoted to master. So if one got split, like in the essence of JP, a master will then be promoted because they basically duplicated that cross-world link shell. And you will be able to use them while you're there. And so you might see, for example, like a hunt-based cross-world link shell for each one. And as you follow the hunt trains across different data centers, you would be switching to different link shells. And there would be a different master for each one, but it might be all the same people, for example. Fellowships cannot be viewed, which makes sense. Those are meant to be more homeworld based. And then you obviously won't be able to buy a house, but you will be able to go visit other people's houses. You will not be able to marry somebody from another data center. You don't want Aether and Primal people being married to each other. No, it's just that, like, because of the nature of the way that those work with the ceremony and the teleporting to each other, I think it would break a lot of that. And the Lords of the different tournaments cannot be entered, and you're not going to be able to enter in their lotteries. Once again, tied to their worlds. Deep dungeons, you're not going to be able to go place on their leaderboards. And then Crystalline Conflict ranked. You can't go mess with their rankings. A lot of this stuff makes sense. The Moogles aren't going to know where to find you. You're on abroad. They're holding your mail. You'll get it when you get back. And then you will be able to use your teleport ring if you're traveling with your spouse in-game, which I'm sure real-life spouses love hearing that. And then you'll be able to teleport to a friend's estate if you're on their home world, which starts to make cross-world friends a lot more interesting, especially like the idea that we would have cross-data center friends is very, very cool. Bonuses will not be applied when visiting new worlds, so you will not get your... like road to 80 buff or whatever is what it sounds like that ends up being. And overall, this is all really logical. I think the goal is to make as many things function as makes sense without breaking stuff. It would really suck if somebody came over and messed up your Crystalline Conflict rank when they weren't even part of your data center. So they weren't even going to be eligible for like ranking in those worlds. And so I think if you think about this from the other side, like who this would negatively impact, or if you think about the technical limitations, all these restrictions make sense. I'm sure they would love to lift restrictions as that becomes possible if they're not going to cause something negative. Enjoy 6.18. Enjoy the data center visit. This is very, very cool. I look forward to trying this. Remember, it may not be stable in the early weeks. That is why they pick like a non-real patch to kind of roll it out with, as opposed to like 0.2, 0.3, 0.4, an expansion launch where any issues would deny people access to long-awaited content. And so the time from now until late August when we go into 0.2 is meant to troubleshoot. So if they have to do any emergency maintenance, hopefully they don't. That is all just part of this being rolled out. The goal is that long-term this is going to make the game healthier, better, and something that more people can enjoy in more ways. Handful of restrictions, so kinda.